Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, November 14th. I am back home at Sather headquarters. It was great to be in DC last weekend on 11/11 for the Disclosure Fest event. Went very peacefully. No incidences occurred, thankfully. And it was also interesting to get the feel of Washington, D.C. Of course, there's a lot of history there, a lot of neat places to see, but at the same time, it is the swamp. A lot of weird juju in that place, so I'm more than happy to be out of there and back home on the West Coast. Now we've got some business to attend to. We're going to talk Q in this video. We're going to discuss some things regarding the California wildfires, that Irish UFO sighting, and then a few other things. So let's get started here. Q's post 2491. QAnon is now the second most attacked entity by the fake news media, with the #1 spot obtained by the president himself. And Q reiterating in this post here that it is the whole swamp attacking the president and Q. Republicans and Democrats. Republicans and Democrats, a coordinated blitz attack. Again, guys, not a left-wing, right-wing thing. I'm still seeing a lot of people getting sucked into that duality. Not left or right. It is simply good versus evil. I don't care about your labels. All I care is about what information you're bringing forth, what kind of energies you're bringing forth. Is it unifying or dividing? That's it. Logical thinking, Q asks. Why is Q being so attacked by the fake news media? When I say fake news media, I'm talking mainstream media, I'm talking alternative media, I'm talking the truther community. So many plants within all of those levels attacking Q. You are now the second biggest threat to the establishment, Q says. Badge of honor, something big is about to drop. And I have my own personal story here about being suppressed regarding Q. So I was actually supposed to present at a conference coming up called the American Priority Conference. This was it right here. It's going to be December 6th through 8th there in Washington, D.C. I was going to go back to D.C. for this to appear on that QAnon panel. But there was some heat directed towards the creators of this conference. Here was an article published a few days ago in Right Wing Watch, corporate propaganda media. They were trying to throw shade on this event on the American Priority Conference for holding a panel about Q. They even featured me in this article, trying to say that I was some conspiracy theorist, blah, blah, blah. I perpetuate conspiracy theories every single day online on my YouTube channel, blah, blah, blah. So because of the heat that this conference was getting, because of the fake news media, they actually had to cancel that QAnon panel. So I won't be going to that conference to do that, unfortunately. So Q saying they are the second biggest threat to the establishment. Absolutely. So many trolls, shills, fake news media hit pieces out there trying to discredit Q and ridicule, discredit, character assassinate anybody who follows Q, right? And that goes for me. Heck, I feel like I've been the third biggest threat to the establishment in recent weeks. Not gonna lie. Now let's get into the next post. Do the math. Irregular voting in Arizona. So Q outlaying some of the inconsistencies we're seeing around those vote counts the past week. Here's a Vox article. Again, corporate propaganda media trying to throw shade on the issue. President Trump cites conspiracy theory to demand Florida stop recount with Republicans ahead, with the subtitle Vox saying here, there is in fact no evidence of fraud, but BS, there's absolutely evidence of fraud. Shoot, what is going on in Broward County, Florida? Here's an article by Town Hall. I'll link this one down below. Florida airport shut down over, quote, suspicious package that ended up being provisional ballots. So what had happened is that a worker at a rental car agency, an Avis rental car employee, discovered a suspicious package in the trunk of a rental car that was turned back in, and it turned out to be extra ballot boxes. Laura Loomer has been there in Broward County tracking all of this voter fraud, and she was the one who really broke this story, made it go viral. And they found extra ballot boxes, like ridiculous. And then Q laying out here what's going on in Arizona. Saw some weird things going on pretty much in every border state. There seems to be some sort of voter fraud, ballots that get found way late, get counted, and then completely shift the outcome of these elections. Now, I think that this voter fraud, the white hats are letting it happen. They're letting it happen just to get more evidence on these guys, track where a lot of these connections, a lot of this weird stuff is going on. So I'm particularly not concerned about the voter fraud. In fact, in my head, it's like, shoot, this voter fraud has been going on for decades and decades. It's nothing surprising to me. But the cool thing, notice, is how this voter fraud is hitting the media, is getting into the public's consciousness. That's why I think they're sort of letting this happen in a way. They're not letting it happen to a point where it's going to completely sway the outcome of any particular plan, you see? But they're just letting a little bit of it happen so it hits the media, so people report on it, so it becomes obvious that voter fraud is going on. So that's my thoughts on that. Now let's go to this next post, 2493. Q just reiterating these numbers again, 53 to 47. And Q posted this about 5 or 6 weeks ago at the very beginning of October. Same numbers, 5347. A lot of people thought that those numbers might have been related to Kavanaugh's confirmation. Turned out it wasn't. But what we're seeing is this might end up as the final Senate count. The Republican and Democrat Senate count. Be very interesting if that turns out to be the case, because we get, again, yet another Q proof with that right there. So now let's get into talking Jerome Corsi. So Jerome Corsi, potato, right-wing conspiracy theorist linked to Roger Stone is what CNBC is calling him, expects to be indicted in Mueller probe. So quite frankly, this is very interesting to me. I have a lot of theories going on in my head. I'm not too particularly sure on what the angle of this might be, but I will say, I saw someone out there mention this, and it struck me as, it resonated with me, I could say. Mueller seems to be protecting Trump from some angle in some way with some of this stuff that's going on. I mean, he indicted, Manafort, and now Corsi, and of course, Mueller. Remember, Mueller's a Marine. Mueller is a Marine, and Mueller met with Trump in the very early stages of 2017 about that FBI director position. Now, if you remember, Mueller had no chance. Legally, he couldn't actually get that FBI director position. So why the heck was he actually meeting with Trump? They said it was for the FBI director position, but what if it was for something else? And this is a theory that myself has speculated on and some others out there. And that what if Mueller is working with Trump in some way, shape, or form? Now, I'm not sure about that, but hey, could it be? What is this witch hunt actually hunting, right? So with Mueller now bringing the heat on Jerome Corsi, and of course, remember, InfoWars and Corsi has sort of been outed in recent months as being linked potentially to foreign intelligence, maybe even rogue Israeli intelligence agencies. So, hey, what if this is some payback or something to that effect versus InfoWars and Corsi? Who knows? Again, just throwing ideas, throwing theories out there. Very interested to see how this is going to turn out and how the rest of that Mueller investigation is going to turn out. Next article, deep fakes rearing their head up yet again in another article here by The Guardian. You thought fake news was bad. Deep fakes are where truth goes to die. And we have had many rounds of this particular narrative be put out into the mainstream media. I believe the New York Times was the first one to run a story like this way earlier this year, months ago. And they were talking about this, quote, deep fakes, how artificial intelligence or some technology could make fake videos, make it appear as if somebody was doing something that they weren't actually doing. Is it the next wave of misinformation warfare? And the reason that these articles just continue being pumped out every month or two, just continuously put into the public's consciousness, is because the deep state are trying to cover their ass. Because they know if any sort of audio recording comes out or video, say on George Soros or Hillary Clinton or Loretta Lynch or Obama, as they have the featured photo here of Obama, they want to claim like, oh, it could be a fake. It could be a fake. You see, they're already prepping for that narrative here by saying, oh, videos can come out that are artificially intelligence created and fake. So if a real video came out, they could claim fake. You can see their motives, their modus operandi plain as day here if you really know what's going on. Just wanted to make that known really quick. Now let's discuss that UFO sighting. Pilots report seeing very fast UFO above Ireland. And this article has just circulated like wildfire. No pun intended. We'll talk about California in a sec. But this has just made its rounds really quickly around all sorts of mainstream media the past couple days. CNN, everywhere. And to be honest, there's not much to this story. It's an innocent little UFO sighting. Not much to it. Couple pilots saw some things in the air. They reported it. It hit the airwaves. Now, here's the thing. Is that why did this circulate so fast? If it was just an innocent UFO sighting, why? What are they trying to distract us from? A story about UFOs is going to wow a lot of people, make them really interested. Are they trying to detract from Q drops, detract from the voter fraud? Again, look over here, not over here. So that's one thing in my mind. I think this UFO story could be trying to distract us from other things they don't want us to be seeing. But also, how did it leak, right? Because this has happened before. Pilots seeing UFOs in the sky, try to make a report on it, and that usually that report gets hush-hushed, or the pilots are just kind of ridiculed and their report isn't filed, or whatever the case. My point is, this has happened before. So how did it get from pilots seeing it to reported to that report getting out into the mainstream and then circulating so fast? You see the point I'm making here? The point I'm making is that there seems to be some sort of connection that helped get this out, which lends plausibility to the idea of it being a distraction. This got out on purpose. It made the rounds on purpose. So what is it distracting from? Good question there. Speaking of space, let's talk about the Space Force. Case for Space Force lies with DoD officials, experts say. So now that the House has a little bit more Democratic control in it. There's some people in the House that are opposed to the Space Force. It might be a little tougher to bring the Space Force to fruition, but it completely lies in the hands of the White House, of the Department of Defense. Luckily, we have Secretary of Defense James Mattis, who used to be opposed to the Space Force, now pretty much do a 180 on the subject, and he's totally for it, which is very good news. But my idea with the Space Force, just throwing it out there really quick, is that, again, it's very interesting to see how there is deep state and Air Force opposition to the Space Force. Why is that? Well, the Space Force, what it's doing is that it's consolidating, it's subsuming a lot of the covert secret Space Force operations, secret space program operations. So consolidating it to be able to publicly disclose it. That's why the deep state isn't happy about it. People in the Air Force aren't happy about it. They don't want their secret technologies, their toys, and shoot, where all the money's been going from the DoD exposed, right? So this Space Force has so much more to it than many people realize. It is completely about disclosing the secret space programs and, heck, even the extraterrestrial intelligence presence, right? So I will keep reporting on the Space Force, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Now let's talk about the California wildfires really quickly here. So California wildfires put almost 50,000 homes at risk, and it could be a huge potential reconstruction, up to $18 billion. And it's like every day now we're seeing a new fire started somewhere in California. It's getting crazy. I think just this morning I saw a new fire somewhere near San Bernardino there in LA. So it's weird. It's really weird. And I'm seeing a lot of people come out with their information, their research on it. This tweet was relating the fact how these wildfires seem to be where the high-speed rail has been planned to be built. See these wildfires? Seems to be in the exact same area. How does that relate? Well, this high-speed rail was actually struck down by the Trump administration. So what does this mean? Well, if these wildfires are lit in those exact areas, eminent domain. The federal agencies in California can then take public land, or private land, excuse me, and make it public. Start building federal stuff on it, such as a high-speed rail system. Don't know if that's the case. Again, plausibility. These people are sick up in the highest levels of the control system, so this is something they would absolutely do. But not just that. We've been seeing a lot of information come out, a lot of data, I should say, whether it's true or not, don't know, about directed energy weapons being involved in these California wildfires. Here's a tweet I found detailing how some of these cars are melting, literally cars melting, and the asphalt around it's not even melting. The paint on it hasn't melted at all, and this tweet was detailing some of the melting points. Aluminum melting point begins at 1220. Asphalt softens at only 150 Fahrenheit, and cement in it liquefies at 250 Fahrenheit. So how is the aluminum here literally melting when the cement seems to be fine? And you can see a tree still standing. There's been plastic still standing when stuff around it is melted. Aluminum, metal. So there's a lot of information that shows there could definitely be directed energy weapons involved. But what I want to say here is be careful, because a lot of these photographs I'm seeing circulate, people are getting caught up with their emotions. They're not critically thinking. These photographs, this one down here in the lower right is faked. I've seen the original with this line taken out of it. This is not a directed energy weapon. This photograph in the upper left came out last year, actually. Don't know exactly what it is. Some people were saying it was an explosion of a plant in Michigan, with this line here just being a lens flare, basically not directed energy weapon related. Could be. This one also looks sort of like a fake. And point here is that there's a lot of fake news circulating with this DEW, directed energy weapon topic, okay? Be careful. Sauce yourself, as they say on 8chan. Make sure what you're sharing is legitimate, not just some rumor or hearsay that you're spreading, okay? That's not helpful to figuring out the truth here. Again, could be directed energy weapon related, might not be. You won't always see a line. Some directed energy weapons, particularly scalar weaponry, you won't see a line like this. This is more laser oriented, which still falls under the category of directed energy weapons. It's a big umbrella term, but you might not always see a line like this. And again, make sure these photographs, if you share them, are A, not photoshopped, and B, from now. Again, this photo here circulated last year. People are claiming it's from California now. Be careful of the fake news. And this was an interesting article come out of NPR. I saw the headline and laughed. It says, megafires more frequent because of climate change and forest management. Here's the thing. Climate change, yes. Who's doing the climate changing? Humans are. And no, I don't mean because of carbon output and, oh, we should carbon tax ourselves. No, what I mean is geoengineering. We should redo this headline. It should say, megafires more frequent because of geoengineering. What is geoengineering doing? Solar radiation management, chemtrails, for lack of a better term. What are these doing? It's drying the heck out of California. These fires are becoming more prevalent because of all the freaking chemtrails laying the particulates in the atmosphere. It's drying out California, making California more susceptible to wildfires. Okay, understand that. Geoengineering, those trails, those aerosols you see in the sky, understand they're drying out California, making the wildfires worse. That's the truth, not this man-made carbon climate change corporate establishment science nonsense. You see, the climate is changing, but it's not carbon, it's geoengineering and extrasolar reasons behind the climate change, okay? And last thing I want to share with you guys here in this video is AFM. That disease, still have news stories circulating around, still getting children diagnosed with this mysterious disease. CNN's headline says, as more cases confirmed, CDC says evidence suggests a viral association for AFM. Now, AFM stands for acute flaccid myelitis, AFM. CNN says there's 10 more confirmed cases, and it's interesting how they're saying it's a polio-like illness. Brings the total number of confirmed cases to 90 in 27 states this year. Well, if it walks and talks like polio, it probably is polio. something I've continuously said here is that this AFM is basically a new name for polio. Same thing as Guillain-Barré. Same thing as a few other diseases out there that stump scientists. But the reason it stumps scientists is because scientists are so boxed in oftentimes with their thinking, with their establishment science thinking. Very structured. They're not holistic in their thinking. They have a tough time connecting the dots. You see, let's connect the dots here. Well, polio, quote, went away. Didn't actually go away. It was just redefined. We have new polio-like diseases that are basically polio. And wow, it has a viral association. Viral, like polio. AFM, where their arms and legs go weak, much like polio. Heck, maybe we should just stop vaccinating. See if that gets these diseases out of the picture, right? Just a thought here. Reject the poison, guys. Definitely reject the poison. And when you see this AFM, think vaccine caused, think polio, think, wow, there is some real nasty stuff coming out of Big Pharma. I'll be doing a lot more reporting on that. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. And I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Take care.